The scene of the Valdai Forum revealed to the world an overripe, paranoid maniac in a prolonged period of detention near the Kremlin. It's hard for the Twilight Zone patriarch to work because in the West politicians are always changing, and this is some kind of nonsense. But the patient holds on stoically. He does not feel deprived, with a written undertaking not to leave the place, creatively lies to the Balalayka, and recklessly kills everyone, delivering deadly missiles directly to the funeral, during his historic performance. According to the latest data, yesterday's rocket attack on the village of Groza was the most massive in terms of the number of deaths in the Kharkov region since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation. Of course, according to the Rashists, the Ukrainians themselves are to blame. As the propaganda creature Latinina said, Iskander most likely flew into a cluster of mobile phones. That is, they themselves are to blame. And Prigozhin, according to Putlo Bess, also blew himself up on the plane. All on their own, the bald genius has nothing to do with it. At night suicide attacks on Odessa, and in the morning another one, by Iskander, on a residential building in Kharkov. With dead and injured children. And all this is not Putin, not the Russians, but some impersonal witches of war. It's time for them to return to their family nest. But the West is wearily stomping around in indecision. Either in the American House of Representatives, Speaker McCarthy is dismissed, or in Slovakia, a notorious populist is promoted to Prime Minister, completely forgetting that 5 years ago this giant already hastily left this post amid a corruption scandal with the murder of a journalist. And there are still elections ahead in Poland, where populist Donald Tusk is already hitting his hoof. Kyiv is signaling, if the United States does not vote for an additional allocation of $5 billion, Ukraine will run out of weapons in a month and a half. It seems that the collective West is ready to risk ending up not just with cholera, but with a nuclear Pearl Harbor. And this despite the fact that the crazy cave is literally teeming and breathing with such thoughts. It's not even a matter of the nuclear toad, regularly inflated by either Dimon or Simonian, it's a matter of the request of the fascinated population from below. The wild ones are ready for debauchery. Not a single enemy will have a chance of survival, Putin declared in Valdai, advertising the successfully tested fake Burevestnik with a nuclear engine. Europe reacts somehow to the results of the brutal attacks of the racists on Ukraine. Spain will transfer 6 Hawk anti-aircraft missile systems to Ukraine. Germany is working on transferring an additional Patriot system to the Ukrainian armed forces. But these are all half measures. If the supply of Western weapons to Ukraine stops, it will only have a week to live. The bald man rubs his little hands and states, Russia is calmly moving towards achieving its goals. And, connecting these two simple thoughts, even a primitive organism understands that Putin's goal is all of Ukraine, as a whole. A senior fellow at the Institute for the Study of War, retired American Lieutenant General James Dubik, does not hide his shock. Those who fought and then built the Europe that most of us have inherited would be horrified today that too many leaders and American citizens do not want to support Ukraine. If the voices of the greatest generation could whisper advice to today's leaders, that advice might be, end this war before it gets bigger. You may think it is difficult, but then it can be even worse. The world needs American leadership, so be a leader. End of quote. And he's right. The boys from Thieves Raspberry can't win, but they won't lose either. They will comb their last nuclear response and use every available arsenal to avenge their defeat. And only a preemptive strike on the rabid cave can save humanity. If, of course, it wants to live, and not survive in the collector, as the flawed deeps who have nothing to lose are accustomed to. The ruble is going to hell, but the weak piece of wood helps fill the budget. The more hopeless life is, the stronger the motivation to go to war. And the worse things are at the front, the more nuclear the patriots sparkle. And the Ukrainian armed forces have not yet collapsed the Crimean Bridge. And until this happens, the system, demonstrating the degree of stubbornness of the bald man, seems to be hinting to the West, But there is another option that will beneficially change the configuration and sharply shake off the degree of tension. A reset with Mishustin or Navalny, isn't it a way out of this situation? Or are you ready to put everything on the line? Because Putin is already ready to marry a nuclear bomb. The State Duma Council at its next meeting will discuss the issue of revoking ratification of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. This means that they will definitely grow the mushroom on Novaya Zemlya. He must convince the West to abandon Ukraine. Otherwise, an outbreak of cholera after playing with boys' shit will seem like a fun attraction on the threshold of the Stone Age.